Okay, Boker Tov, everybody. So in the Yerushalmi today, we are doing, for the Yerushalmi, we're going to do Perek Gimel Halacha Tet. Again, we're going to be using these printed out sheets, but in the Vilna printing, it's Yud Chet Amud Aleph. And we'll skip the Mishnah. We'll start with the discussion. It's about bringing in the witnesses and scaring them, and then, making sure that they didn't hear by hearsay and so on. So the Yerushalmi says as following. Miyutz Irim Shnayim. So it's on page 2 here of the handout. So it says, right, so we're going to lead up to the fact that it says Shnei Anashim, or which might refer to the witnesses and might refer to the litigants. So what do you do with the word Shnei? So it says, so here's how it's coming at it. When it says the word Se'irim in plural, goats, so implicitly that's two. Ma'atam lo Shnei, what does it say two? This is by Yom Kippur. Shnei HaSe'irim. Yu Shneim Shavim. They should be the same, right? We all know the idea that the goat that goes to Zazel and goat that goes into the Beit HaMikdash, they're supposed to be like similar in appearance. Kvasim. When it says lambs, like by the lamb that you bring in the morning and in the afternoon each day for a korban tamid, implicitly it's two. Why does it say two? That they should be similar in appearance, but you didn't know that. You're supposed to do that for the two lambs. Birds, plural, minimum is two. By the case of the Metzora and so on, that they should be similar. By Moshe, by the blowing of the trumpets. So implicitly, plural is two. Okay, so that's generally what we learn when it says a plural, and already it implies two, minimum two. Two is to somehow say that to be similar. I know. What can I tell you? So Heisi Rav Chagai, but it's a lead up to this question. Rabbi Yossi, Yosef Haksi Vamdu Shnei Hanashim, the two people that have the debate should stand before God, and presumably that refers to the litigants. Okay, but we're going to see. We're also going to read it to refer to the Eidim. But what do you say from this? Miatam Yud Anashim Shnayim Maltam Lo Meshudata said the people. Why does it say two? Maltam Lo Meshnei Shushavim, that they should be similar. The two people. So if it's a tall person, you can only have a debate with you can only have a court case with a tall person, or a short person with a short person. Vaksiv. So the Yerushalmi asks the question from a different angle. Maybe it means similar in terms of status. So vaksiv. Do not, sort of pervert the judgment of the stranger and of the orphan. So what would that mean? So if you say that they have to be the same, so can a ger only have a court case with another ger? Can a yasam only have a court case with another yasam? Then you're perverting their justice if you're not letting them, come to court against anybody. So hare ger dani misheno ger yasam dani misheno yatom. You have to allow a ger to have a case with somebody who's not a ger and a yasam with somebody who's not a yasam. So it can't mean that the litigants have to be the same. In kain lamanem ashnei. What does it say to? Mufne. It's the word is extra. To allow you to link it to somewhere else. Right, by Eldad Umeidad, two people. So the same way there, it was clearly men and not women. Now, how do we know there it was men and not women? I don't know. I mean, it says the word anashim. Here too it says the word anashim. Maybe somehow the Gemara assumes that since it's talking about a type of a Sanhedrin, it was the 70 people. It takes for granted that a woman can't be on a Sanhedrin. Oh, you mean Eldad Umeidad? Meaning it's not the question of the other 70. It's specifically Eldad Umeidad. Okay, that's a very good point. I'll go with that. That's a good one. So Malal and Anashim. So the same way there, Eldad Umeidad were men. Velo Nashim. Afkan Nashim. Velo Nashim. Velo Ketanim. So here too now, it's not true about litigants. Litigants can be women. Okay, but what presumably is now we've done a subtle shift and assumed that this pasuk, which is talking about litigants, we're now going to read that the Shnei and Nashim that are standing are Eidim. So I know. So we'll see. We'll divide it into two halves. There's Shnei Nashim and Asher Lehem Hariv. Okay, so although clearly until now we were reading it about litigants, when we were talking about the ger and the yasom, now we're doing a shift and having it talk about Eidim. And to tell you that Eidim have to be adult males. Now, how do we exactly get that a woman can't judge? Maybe presumably implicitly by the fact that she can't be a witness, she also can't judge. Okay, in the Bavli, there are Rishonim that have a debate about that because of the precedent of Dvorah. But the simple assumption is that if a woman can't testify, which is explicit, then she can't judge, and that's the assumption here of the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Bun, B'Shem Rav Yosef, he gets the idea to exclude women from Eidus another way. Nemakan Shnei v'nemalal Shnei. Malal al pi shnayim edim, afkan al pi shnayim edim. Okay, so same thing that the Shnei and the Shnei, that just tells us that we're talking about Eidim here. Okay, shot of the pasuk is we're talking about litigants, but because of the link of Shnei, we say we're talking about witnesses. In Kain Matam Lomer Shnei. So then, what are we learning from the word Shnei? Already we know there's an idea of having two witnesses. So what does the word Shnei teach you? Shelo echad omeid vechad yoshev. There is a way in which they should be equal, and it's a little bit funny. Now we're shifting back. First he said, "Oh, we already know witnesses." Maybe from a different pasuk. Okay, so it sounds like he's saying here we're witnesses, but then he shifts back. No. Here we're litigants. Okay, which is pshat of the pasuk. The two people that have the disagreements stand before God.
Witnesses they have to be authorized from the government.
No, they just happen to see something.
Any witness.
What?
Any witness from the street.
Yeah, like in any court case.
With certain people.
No, you can't. Certain people are not valid if you're a relative. Right, if you're a Goslin, what we've been talking about, women can't be witnesses, but any random person who saw something can be a witness.
But they're still checked out, though.
Make sure they're telling the truth. Right. Okay. All right, but now we switch it. So the first thing said we're talking about witnesses and we're excluding women. This sort of says witnesses, but then it shifts back, and we are talking about litigants. And the idea of Shnei that they should be the same is not that they should be the same, like, personal status type of an issue. That they should be the same and that they should be treated the same in court. Okay? You don't let one of the litigants stand and the other sit. Okay, that's true, but we're going to go on. One gets an opportunity to fully say his thing, and the other say, wrap it up, buddy. Now, that might not be that they're trying to be mean. Some guys are a little bit more garrulous and a little bit more long-winded than others. But somebody should not be made to feel that they did not get a chance to fully say what they needed to say, even if it's going to mean that Notice it didn't say they give them the same amount of time. They said, they don't say katser dvarecha. Don't force the person to wrap up. Give the person the opportunity to say all that he needs to say. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shemati. So this is going back to the Mishnah. Michael says correctly that it says that the two litigants stand. So now we're saying that's an issue. Maybe that's the default, and that's an issue of equal treatment. But the judge has the discretion to allow both of them to sit. You also wonder, let's say one of them is elderly, someone can't stand or whatever. Exactly. Rabbi Yishmael Omer. Omimlo, now we're going on to this idea that they have to be sort of presented equally and treated equally, the litigants. Omimlo, levush kashem shehu lavush. One guy is really wealthy and he's coming all nice and clean, tailored suit. The other guy's schlumpy. So you say to the guy who's better dressed, look, either go ahead and change into clothes that are schlumpy, or or buy him a nice suit so he can come and wear and present himself just as nicely as you are. It's interesting that becomes the obligation of the litigant, right? But I guess it's because you can choose to dress down. Maybe I can't choose to dress down. All my clothes are tailored Armani suits. I would have to go to the store to buy something that's not as nice. Anyway, okay. But that really is powerful, right? They have to be presented equally. Now we're going back to saying the pasuk doesn't just mean about the litigants; it also means the Eidim. The Eidim have to stand. B'shashim makablim dinam. When they testify. So now we're reading it about Eidim. So we discussed before that the litigants have to stand when they're presenting their case. Here it says that they have to also stand when they are receiving their judgment. Now, I don't know exactly how we get the judgment. Maybe the lifnei Hashem. The sense of being judged is before God. So when the judgment is being passed down, I think we have that in secular court, right? That when it's time for the judgment, you ask the person to stand. Do you? I think so, at least from all of my knowledge of courts from what I see on TV. Okay, now, fine, moving on. Now we're going to go back to an issue about relatives that we saw in the Bavli. We already know you die for your own sins. Why does it say fathers don't die for children? So you don't die for the testimony of your children or for the testimony of your father. Relatives are puzzle for witnesses. So from there, we see that you cannot be a relative to the one who is being judged. you can't be judged put to death based on the testimony of a relative. How do you know? How do you know they can't be the two witnesses? How do you know they can't be relatives? They themselves can't be, let's say, brothers, and they're testifying against a third party. So the third party isn't being put to death based on his relative. How do you know that the witnesses can't be related to one another? So think for yourself. Now, actually, we saw this in the Bavli, but actually, as the Mefarshim say, this really should be the line that comes next. If you look down a line, it says, She'im huzam echad mehem. You see, if you go directly down one line, not She'im huzmu, but She'im huzam echad mehem, klum nerag ad sheyuzam chevayro. Okay, that if one of them, of the Eidim, if they're two brothers, Reuven and Shimon, and one is found as an Eid Zomeim, right, he would not be put to death until Shimon was also found as an Eid Zomeim, right? That's the idea. You need both of them. So therefore, if Reuben is only put to death after Shimon is found in Eid Zomeim, part of the way Reuben is put to death is because of the testimony of his brother Shimon. His false testimony of his brother Shimon, if they were both Eidim Zomimim, it was only because of the false testimony of his brother Shimon that they were both found Eidim Zomimim, and he was now being put to death. So you would have a case that he is dying on the testimony of his brother. Yeah, so two brothers, whatever. We'll get worried about other relatives later. Let's not worry about that. But right now, you can't have relatives testifying together as witnesses, because if they're found Eidim Zomimim, they would then be punished based on the testimony of a relative, because part of the way they're punished is because of what their fellow aid is testifying to. All right, so the Bavli had that case as well. The Bavli didn't like it, but the Yerushalmi has it.
Can you make a distinction? I'm not clear. If one of the, say they're relatives, one of the witnesses is lying, the other, how is the other witness implicated?
They both were.
He's repeating the same lie?
No, well, maybe, but they both are proven to have been somewhere else. They both said they saw a murder, and they were both proven, but through the testimony of other witnesses, proven to have been somewhere else when that murder was supposed to have occurred.
So
okay,
guilty.
So they're both guilty. Yeah. Okay, so if you allow a brother to testify with a brother, would it not turn out that one brother is being killed based on the testimony of the other because they're both Eidim Zomimim? Okay, so the way you know that you can't have two brothers or father and son as witnesses is because it could lead to them being judged based on the other person's testimony in a case of Eidim Zomimim.
In other words, why is it on the other? It's on his.
Both of them. Both of them.
Okay, either you mean but okay,
if here, right, if here Reuven and Shimon and their brothers, right, both claim that they saw this guy kill somebody. Okay, here's the knife dripping with blood. Here's the dead body. Okay, whatever. They said they saw him kill somebody. Okay, and then these two witnesses come and they say, no, you couldn't have seen that. You guys were with us somewhere else, right? Okay, so in that case, why you're going to put them both to death? Why are you going to put Reuven to death? Not because he testified falsely, and because Shimon testified falsely with him. If there had not been two witnesses, you wouldn't have put them to death. So one of the things that is leading to Reuven's death is Shimon's testimony.
But what if it wasn't his brother and they're still
okay? Whoever this guy is,
right?
But in this case, it's because of Shimon's testimony. So therefore, you would have him put to death because of the testimony of a brother.
Oh, that's what you
so you can't allow a brother to testify together, or a father and a son. I'm sorry. Okay. Uminaya now jumping back. Uminayin shalu bottom the second line. Uminayin from the bottom. Uminayin shalu ye'edim krovim shel dayanim. How do you know they can't be related to the judges? The Bavli didn't explore this. How do you know the Eidim and the judges can't be related? So Haga Atzmacha now jumping back up to the Haga Atzmacha. The Haga Atzmachas were reversed. Haga Atzmacha shim who's mulom mipiem ne'aragim. Take another case of Eidim Zomimim. If Reuven is here and these are the judges, right? Here's the judges. And one of these brothers is Reuven's brother. This is a more obvious case. You know why he can't be related to the judge? Because if they're found Zomimim, then these judges are going to decide that they're Chayiv Misa, right? And a brother will be putting a brother to death. You got it? Right? So the same way, you can't testify against or for a brother. You can't, right? You can't make a judgment against a brother. So we can't accept you guys as witnesses because if it's turned out you're lying, then a brother will be putting a brother to death. Okay.
Can two Dayanim or Korban be on a Beit Din?
No, we're going to get to that. Okay, next line, next paragraph. How do you know judges can't be related to one another? Because it says, the same way it says witnesses put to death, the judges put them to death, put the person to death. So my Edim Krovim Zelzeh, the same way we established that the witnesses can't be related, after Yonim Krovim Zelzeh, the judges can't be related. Now, I only know, I've been saying brothers because it's an easier case, but anyway, but in the Psukim, it's father and son. Okay? Shar Krovi Minayin, where do you know other relatives? Amr Bzera Uvanim. Lo yimsu avos ubanim, uvanim lo yimsu avos. Albanim, excuse me. Uvanim lo yimsu alavos. Thank you. Uvanim, but the extra vav. Okay? L'rabos Shar Krovi, not just sons, but all relatives. I mean, which relatives, that's discussed, but not literally any relative, but a broader scope. Ad Kedon Rabbi Akiva. That's like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva darshans extra vavs. But Rabbi Yishmael Minayin. Where do you know that Rabbi Yishmael gets the idea? Rabbi Yishmael doesn't like extra vavs as a basis for a drasha. So how would he expand the idea that it's not only fathers and sons, but it's more relatives as well? Tani Rabbi Yishmael. So Rabbi Yishmael taught. This is about judging whether somebody is liable to the death penalty. Okay, in a case of somebody who killed, by accident, in a case of galus and so on. Since they have to argue for both sides, for shaftu, they have to be prepared to find the guy guilty, but for hitzilu, they also have to argue for the guy's defense to protect the guy, right? So they have to be prepared to argue both sides. They can't be related either to the accused or to the victim. Okay, I'm Rabbi Yossi. Imata Omer came because were they the Beis Din related to the victim? Imata Omer came. Nimtzas Omer Beis Din Goel Adam. If they were, then they would also be a Goel Adam. They'd be related. So obviously they cannot be. That's probably why it's quoting this pasuk here about about the case of the murder victim, because there's a specific identity to the relative of the victim. That identity of the relative to the victim in this case is the Goel Adam, right? The redeemer of blood. So therefore, clearly, that's a different role in this case than the Beis Din.
But it doesn't necessarily extend it as far as we do in terms of clothing.
I know. So we don't know exactly who's included in the Goel Adam. But anyway, but it's more than father and son. Okay? So, Mikan Shaluya Dayanim Krovi Hanidonim. So therefore, they can't be related to the victim. So, or the accused. Once we assume that they can't be the victim, they can't be the accused based on the parallel of the v'shaftu ha'ida v'tzilu ha'ida. Now, how do you know the witnesses? So here it starts by the judges. The judges can't be related to the accused or to the victim. How do you know that the witnesses cannot be related to the accused? We sort of do it the reverse. We start with the judges, and through the judges, we get to the witnesses. The same way judges can't be related, so witnesses as well, they're doing a similar function. No, we did it in the reverse. We started with the witnesses, and we got to the judges. Here, we're starting with the judges, and we're getting to the witnesses.
You're saying the same thing, because we did have it above. We're just starting from a different point.
We were starting from the judges, and we're getting to the witnesses. Okay? So now, again, since we started from the judges, when we got to the witnesses, so anyway, now we know the judges and the witnesses can't be related to the accused. How do we know the witnesses can't be related to one another? So same thing we said before. Okay, so again, because of cases of if they were turned out to be zomanim, then they would wind up, if essentially their testimony would wind up hurting one another. Okay, so it's the same thing, except we start from the judges. And as opposed to starting from the witnesses and going to the judges, we start from the judges and go to the witnesses. But what we've done here is we said that because we didn't base it on the pasuk lo yimsu avos ubanim, we start with a bigger scope than just father and son. The concept that we start with is Goel Hadam. Basing can't be related because then they would be a Goel Hadam. So the Goel Hadam is a bigger category of relatives than just father and son. So that allows us to get to that broader category of relatives. Okay, so now we continue. The ksherim v'lo b'psulim. Now, what I'm going to do here just for the sake of time, is because this next section of the Yerushalmi is borrowed from Masechet Shvuot, which is about the question of Shvuas Ha'edus, that if you force somebody to testify and the person claims that they don't know testimony about you, this is Joe's question, who testifies? I know that Michael saw something and I want him to come and testify against Erica, and he's pals with Erica, he doesn't want to testify. So I schlep him to Beis Din and I say, swear to me you did not see this testimony. And he swears and he's lying. Then he has to bring the korban. Then he has to bring a korban of Shuas Ha'edus. So the Gemara in Shuas discusses all of the parameters of when you have to bring that korban or not bring that korban. If he was a puzzle aid, he wouldn't have to bring that korban because he couldn't testify, right? Because then, even were he to testify, it wouldn't have been accepted. So then, if he does swear, he doesn't have to go ahead and bring the. If he does, well, so then the Gemara says, but what about a korban for just a false shua? Not the specific korban for Shuas Ha'edus, but the general korban for false shua. So that's the question. So maybe we'll read a little bit, but I don't want to get too much because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of Bavli to cover, so we'll skip a little. But let's read at least a little so you see where it's going. Most of this isn't related to us. Most of this is about Shuas Ha'edus. So it says like this: B'ksherim v'lo b'psulim. So when does somebody chayav a Shuas Ha'edus? If they're a kosher aid, if they're a puzzle aid and they swear, then they didn't withhold any meaningful testimony. If he doesn't give his edus, then he bears the burden of the sin. Only somebody who would testify and it would lead to somebody having to pay. Say when you excluding the case of puzzle, shafilu magid ein chaver mishalim mamon. Okay, bifnei Beis Din. Now only if Michael swears in the presence of a court. Lahotzi Eda, now, which excludes A if he's not in the presence of a court, and also excludes the only time somebody has to give a korban for Shuas Ha'edus is actually there were two witnesses who sweared falsely. Because it was just one, the testimony of one would not have led to the other person having to pay.
It might.
Okay, but that's not directly. Okay, yes, but that's indirectly. Okay, so Lahotzi Ed Echad, b'she'amru lo harei mekubal alav k'shnayim. Now, even if the other side said, even if, Erica said, I will accept Michael's testimony as two witnesses against me. So therefore, by Michael not swearing, he is making me lose money. He is making me lose money because he would have testified and Erica would have had to pay. But nevertheless, since it was only because Erica agreed to it, it didn't have the power by itself to make her pay, then his shvua does not lead to the obligation of bringing a korban for shvuas ha'edus. Okay, maybe in the case when Erica said she would accept his testimony as two, maybe he would be chayev. Talmud lomar v'hu ra'a o yada. He saw or he knows. I don't exactly get how we know this from this, but somehow it means he himself could have, not he himself, but like it was an edus that on its own power, not because the other side agreed, would have made the other side pay. If it was only one witness, it would not have had that power by itself, and therefore, if he's swearing falsely, it does not bring a shvuas ha'edus korban. Shelo bifnei Beis Din. What else Shelo bifnei Beis Din excludes is that simple sense. Im lo yagivin asa'avano es shemagid mishalim mamon. If he swore outside of Beis Din, he wouldn't pay because it's only in a context where had he actually testified, the other side would have had to pay. If he just swore outside of Beis Din, and then had he testified outside of Beis Din, it wouldn't have mentioned anything. So therefore, he doesn't have to bring the korban. Now, this is maybe why we're getting to it. Now, how do you know two witnesses? So it sounds like what it's saying is the who aid. So the who aid, who and an aid means that we're talking about two witnesses. So two witnesses have to swear falsely. But then it says, but according to Rabbi Shmuel, Amar, aid stam harehu b'chlal shnei edim. No, the reason we know that the witness who swears falsely brings a korban, because it says vihu aid, who plus an aid makes two, but the word aid itself means two. Every time it says aid, it means two witnesses. Until it says explicitly one witness. Okay, so that's some issues about shvuas ha'edus. Here I said we're not going to do it, and we wound up doing it. So now we have a question, which is Michael's question. Fine, one witness swore falsely that he doesn't know any testimony. He doesn't bring a korban shvuas ha'edus because his testimony would not have led to the other side being chayav. Okay, but he still swore falsely. Why isn't he chayav for just a false oath? Okay, Efshar lomar acher roy litzarfo l'chayvo mishum shuas edus vat mechayvim mishum shuas bitoy. So it has an interesting thing. If Michael swears falsely, you know why he doesn't bring a normal korban for a normal false shvua? Because he theoretically could wind up bringing a korban for a shvuas edus. Because if I afterwards bring David to court as a witness, and he also swears falsely that he doesn't know, then both of you guys now have to bring a shvuas edus korban. Okay, so therefore, Michael, when he's just a one witness, doesn't bring he sort of is nishtahi nishtaher. He doesn't bring a shvuas edus korban because he's only one, but he doesn't bring a normal shvua, right, korban, because he might wind up being in the shvuas edus category if there's another witness.
And then with Zomim, if you brought me in, and then there were two.
Yes, but the Zomim doesn't have to do with the fact about the what do you call it, about the shvua. But yeah. Now, Karo.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm just trying to understand. So if I'm doing all this falsely, if I'm just one witness, then then it's I don't bring the shvuas edus. But there's another witness, but he's telling the truth. I just happen to be swearing falsely.
Right.
Now the two witnesses, it can still stand. Do I still need to bring this shvua korban for shvuas edus?
Yeah, I hear your point. I think that, if I remember correctly, I think you both have to be swearing falsely. You're right. If there's already one witness, then the withholding of your testimony is preventing the other side from winning. But I think that the idea is that the entire sort of, both witnesses have to be swearing falsely, which is a very rare case. But I hear your question. But
and if he brings 10 witnesses, 2 of us are swearing falsely, it wouldn't make a difference. They all have to be swearing falsely, or just 2 of them be swearing falsely?
No, but in that case, just 2 of them. But in that case, also, they might be superfluous. So then it might be that they're punished from that perspective. I have to remind myself.
Does
Okay.
someone have to swear the identical false statement, or can they have 2 separate false statements and they're considered zoning?
They could be separate if they have the same effect of making this person liable. Yes. Okay. Now, Karav Maulachayva Mishum Shuas Bitoy. Okay, fine. So if a one witness, we can't be Mechayvim because of a Shvuas Bitoy, because normal Shvuah, because he might become a Shvuas Eidus. What if the guy was a relative? So he anyway could have been a kosher aid. So Michael swore falsely that he didn't know any testimony about Erica, but he's actually Erica's brother-in-law or something like that. So he never could have been a kosher aid against her. Can I at least get him for a false Shvuah? So the Gemara says, so Yavo Kahadam Rabbi Yavo Bar Shmuel Shvuah Shanasan Ploni Maneh Nimsa Shelo Nasan. If Michael swore that Reuben gave Shimon $100 and he was lying, Me'achar Shein Biyado Lavo Ein Biyado L'Shavar. So this is a principle that you're not chayiv on a false shvuah if it can't be framed as a future shvuah. If it can only be framed as a past. So since Michael can't swear, I swear that Reuben will give Shimon $100. How could you swear to such a thing? You're not chayiv for a false shvuah when you say that it happened in the past. Oh, that's one opinion. Okay, da amarlo hechan shori. But here's another opinion that you would be chayiv a false shvuah. Hechan shori, where's my ox? Amarlo eni odea matasach. Michael, where's my ox? I have no idea what you're talking about. And he was a shomer chinam. Who shemet o nishpa o avad. Now, actually, something happened to the ox that Michael would have been exempt for. Because he's a shomer chinam, and the ox got stolen or lost, he would be exempt. So his swearing falsely isn't making me lose any money. Because even if he swore truthfully that it got lost, he wouldn't pay me anything. Okay, but nevertheless, rather than saying he got lost, he swore that he never took the ox from me in the first place. Mashbiacha ani, I say, Michael, swear that you don't have the ox, that you never took it. Amen. Potter, he's exempt from a shvuas edus because he's not making me lose money. Or actually, this is the shvuas hapikadon. That's a third category. If somebody swears falsely as a way of getting out of a debt, they bring a special korban for shvuas hapikadon. But here, the oath isn't getting him out of a debt because either way, he would be exempt. Rava mar partem shvuas hapikadon v'chay b'shvuas bitoy. Fine, he doesn't make a shvuas hapikadon because he's not getting out of a monetary debt, but he still swore falsely. I'm Rav Yochanan. No, no, he doesn't bring a shvuas bitoy because there's a strange idea that comes up in the Bavli as well, which is that when somebody makes a shvuah to somebody else, like I say, Michael, swear to me that the animal died or whatever it might be, his shvuah is not just proving that that's what happened. It's also sort of satisfying a claim I have against him. The fact that you swore to me is like you've made not consoled. What's the word? What's the word? Hafiz. Anyway, appeased me or something like that. So here the idea here is that like you owe me a shvua. It's not just whether it happened or didn't happen. You owe me that shvua. So here he's saying, oh, well, Michael gave me something he owed me. He gave me a shvua. So that got him out of any liability of any liability for swearing falsely. Because anyway, he didn't owe me money. He did owe me a shvua, and he gave me a shvua. Of course, the obvious answer is it was a false shvua. So it says, so the Gemara says, no, this is not satisfying and appeasing him. Okay, so that's not that you didn't do anything good by giving us false shvua, and even though it's not a shvuas pikadon, you're chayav for a false shvua. Okay, anyway, yeah. Okay, this is I see. I said I was going to skip it and wound up doing it. Okay, Tani Rabbi Shmuel v'nasa avono. This is backed by the Shus Eidos Korban. Minan le based in. Yafinan agada agada. Ma'agada shenem al beisin afkan beveisin. Im lo yagid v'nasa avono. And the same way it says by, I think this is by the Zakin Marme lahagid. So we understand that we're talking in the presence of beisin, like we said before.
What does it do with the korban?
I don't know. Kada, we're in the context of bringing the korban. Im lo yagid v'nasa avono. Kada einu kabbalim edim elim kain ra'u shnei. Now, okay, fine. That's the end of that. That was all digression, which I wanted to skip. I should skip. Anyway, fine. Now we're back to the idea that you bring in the witnesses and you cross-examine them and to testify. So this is going to get to something the Bavli is going to ask as well, that it says after you're done, it says you bring them back in. Okay, so the question is, or whatever, it says that they testify singly. You bring in one witness, you examine him, he testifies, you bring in the other witness, and you examine him. So the question is, can witnesses testify singly, or do they have to testify like at the same time, not literally together, but in the same setting? And similarly, when they see an event, do they have to see it at the same time, or can they see it at different times? How can you see a same event at different times? So it would be a case, let's say, one witness says they saw Michael lend $100 to David, and another witness says they heard David admit that he owed $100 to Michael. So they're testifying about the same event, but things that they saw at different times. Okay, so anyway, that's where we're moving now.
But do they have to stay there for the entire duration?
So that's what we're going to discuss, and we won't discuss the details, but yes. You don't accept witnesses unless they saw it at the same time. Even if they saw sequentially. Now that might go so far to say, I gave an easier example, that at least, one was admitting to a debt that occurred yesterday. But let's say one witness says, I saw Michael borrow $100 from David on Monday, and the other says, I saw Michael borrow $100 from David on Wednesday. And they're not contradicting, they're actually testifying to different cases. But if you put together their testimony, they're both saying that Michael owes David $100.
Or more.
So, or could be, but minimally $100. Each one testified that he owes David $100. So that's Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says that's okay. They're in the end. Now he wouldn't say if it's a case of a crime. I saw Reuven kill Shimon on Monday. I saw Reuven kill Levi on Tuesday. Oh, well, we both say that Reuven killed somebody. No, that they wouldn't say. But here, by monetary matters, he figures you can abstract it and combine it. Okay, so Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Omar Filu B'Zer Chazeh. The B'Yemna B'Shem Rav Modim Chachamim Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. The Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha be'edei bechora u'be'edei chazaka. If you're talking about $100 on Monday and $100 on Wednesday, it's different. It's a different $100. But let's say you're talking about the same thing. What would be the example of the same thing? Bechor. And when we get to the Bavli, we'll see there's a debate of Rashi, Tosos, Bechor. I'll just tell you Tosos's version, which is probably not the pshat, especially of the Yerushalmi. Tosos says the Bechor is 1/8 says that I know that. Whatever. On Sunday, I heard Yaakov say that Reuven was his firstborn son, and another witness says that I heard on Wednesday Yaakov said that Reuven was his firstborn son. Okay, or so in that case, and then you want to prove if Reuven gets a double portion. Okay, so there. It's not two separate things like $100 Monday and $100 Wednesday. It's actually the exact same thing. That Reuven is the firstborn son, heard at two separate times. Okay, then it should really say though Bechor, not Bechorah, but okay, it means Bechorah presumably like the double portion. Ube'edei chazaka. Okay, let's say it's Eidei Chazaka, right? About when did a person do a Chazaka of Gimel Shanim? Because they're testifying on the same plot of land. They're both saying that, David owns this plot of land based on different knowledge. Okay, but it's not like $100 on one day and $100 on a different day where it's different $100.
Meaning one aide can see it 1 year, the next aide can see it another year. Is that what that means?
Right. At least the Yerushalmi is going to say something later that's going to reject it. But in theory, one could say, I saw him, do Chazaka from between 2010 and 2012. And the other said, I saw it between 2013 and 2015. So the combination is they're both saying that they saw him do Chazaka. It's the same plot of land, and that you could combine. Okay, that would be agreed. The problem is when it could be talking about different things. Okay, Rabbi Abba b'shem Rabbi Yirmiyah af be'edi simanim came. Now, similarly, we're going to have the same thing in the Bavli if we get to it. Even if it's talking about simanim like pubic hairs to determine that somebody's an adult. If one witness says, I saw 2 pubic hairs, and the other says, I saw it, but they see it at different days or they saw it in different places of the body. So they're both testifying about the same person, that he or she is an adult. Okay, and therefore it does combine. It's not like 2 separate $100. Mad dipshita b'shezeh omer. That's true if one says I saw 2 hairs in this place of the body, the back, and the other says on the gapo, which might mean like on the hand or something, on the knuckles. Okay, but that's if they both say each one say they saw 2 hairs, but in different places. But if one says I saw 1 hair and one says I saw 1 hair in a different place, the lo kum. It's not good at all, because then each one is testifying that they only saw something that that they only saw like 1 hair. Each one is testifying that the person is not a gadol. Seeing only 1 pubic hair is testifying that the person is a katan. Okay, so kolshkein gaba v'gapo, and certainly if they're in 2 very different places of the body. Okay, so shnayim amrim re'inu sara achat b'gabo. Now let's say, so here you have like this. Here's the person, okay? So if you have, let's do like 2 hairs. So if one witness says, I saw 2 hairs in the front of the body, okay, and one witness says, I saw 2 hairs in the back of the body, each witness is testifying that person is a gadol. Right? You got it? Okay, based on different evidence, but they're each testifying that the person is a gadol. But if one witness says, I saw 1 hair, and one witness says, I said 1 hair, then each witness is testifying that the person is a katan, right? So that's not going to be good. Okay, so that's that case. What if, however, you have 2 witnesses that say, and each one says that they saw 1 hair? So, by itself, each pair of witnesses is saying that they were katan. But if you establish this fact, and then you also establish this fact, maybe you can combine the 2 facts. Do you understand how that sort of works? Right? Okay, so that's the question. All right. So, what would be the case there? Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yoshua. That's a debate of Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yoshua. Bar Rav Shimi. Chadam are pasul, v'chadam are kosher. One says that would be no good. One says it's good. Mandam are pasul, k'meida chatzi simin. He says that's not good because still each pair of witnesses is saying that this person is a katan. What do I care that there's 2 and 2? Each one is saying that the person is a katan. Okay. Where were we? Mandam are kosher. The one that says it's kosher. Ani omer shemin nashru. No, even though they're only seeing 1 hair, maybe there were 2 hairs here and 1 fell away. So it's not saying the person is definitely a katan. Saying 1 hair, saying 2 hairs is that the person is a gadol. Saying 1 hair is an incomplete testimony. You don't know the person's a katan. You only saw 1. Maybe there had been another one. So since it's not saying the person is a katan, it's establishing 1 hair. If one said saw 2 and 1 saw 2, then this one is saying gadol, and this one is saying gadol, and they're saying it about the same person, and you can combine them. Okay? But if this one saw 1 and this one saw 1, he's saying they're not saying katan because they don't know if it's katan or gadol. They only saw 1. What they're saying is 1 hair. So you have 2 witnesses that say 1 hair and 2 witnesses that say 1 hair, and we'll add it together and we'll get to 2 hairs. Okay? So that's that argument. That saying 1 is not saying that the person is a katan. Now, Echad Omer. Not saying it's going to lie, but maybe we can combine them. Echad Omer. This is, I know, it's a long piece, this Yerushalmi today. We're almost done. Echad Omer, Shtei Saras Begabo, Echad Omer Shtei Bekreso, Rabbi Bar Abba Amar Divya Kol Kasher. Okay, so in that case, actually, if they say two, so the one case was the question was where on the body. This case here was that they were saying like in the pubic area, and this one was saying like in the hand area. But let's say these guys are saying that it's actually, this is like in the pubic area in the front, and they're saying the pubic area behind. So like the same general region. So that we might be more prepared to say that will combine. Okay, then divya kol kasher. Amar v'chagai divya kol pasul. No, everybody will say it's pasul. Rabbi Yosef machlokas. It's still a debate. Okay. Amar Rabbi somebody, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chagai, aha, Rabbi Yehuda, and Amar Dechvasi. How come you're arguing with me? Rabbi Yehuda agrees with me. Amar Leival Rabbi Anapoli Kolshkein Aluye. If I argue on his Rebbe, if I argue on you, then I'm certainly going to argue. Then I'm certainly going to argue on him. What do you mean? How could I disagree with you? Rabbi Yehuda agrees with me. Rabbi Yehuda is your student. Okay. Anyway. We're almost done with this. Sorry. I'm Rabbi Yivana. Yos, I'm Rabbi Chagai. Iushta shechasim ba'arba chotamot. Zemeid oshnayim. Zemeid oshnayim. The Karel of Yerushalmi Shema Klumhu. So let's say you had a case of, here we're going to have an interesting analogy. We had a shtar, okay, and you had 4 witnesses. Okay? And now you need to do a kiyum of the shtar. One witness testifies that he knows those 2 guys, and one witness testifies he knows those 2 guys. So he's going to say that's not a kiyum of a shtar. You have no signature that has two witnesses on it. So he says that's the same as one person saying I saw 2 hairs, and this one saying I saw 2 hairs. They're not testifying on the same 2 hairs, and therefore it cannot be a good testimony. You can't combine it. Okay. The ein kol chasima tzricha shnei edim. Those in both every signature need 2 witnesses. V'hachal kol siman tzarich shnei edim. Here too. Okay. So each one would wait. So if one says 2 hairs and one says 2 hairs, they would not combine. They have to testify on the same 2 hairs. Rabbi Chanina shama lehen mishnei chazaka. Think about, this is the example we discussed before about chazaka. Before it said everybody agrees with chazaka, but here we're going to say obviously that would not be true. You echad omer meid she'achla shana rishona shniya v'shlishis. The echad omer meid she'achla revius chamishis v'shishis shema klumhu. How could you combine them? Okay, so what we're saying is like this. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says, according to Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, okay, he says, one witness says, I saw Ruvain lend Shimon $100 on Monday. And the other witness says, I saw Ruvain lend Shimon $100 on Tuesday, whatever, on Wednesday, that combines. Okay, that's what Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says. So now we said, okay, what about if they're that you could argue on because it's a different $100. But what about if they're testifying on the same thing? Like they're both testifying on a plot of land. Okay, so let's say they say, I saw him do a, I don't know, sell him the plot of land on Monday, and I saw him admit to the plot of land on Wednesday. So it's the same plot of land that, it's the same physical thing it might combine. But what if it was something that actually the testimonies themselves were like on completely different events, meaning if it's the same plot of land, okay, but one said that this guy did a chazaka years 1, 2, 3, and the other 8 saw him do a chazaka in years 4, 5, and 6, right? Can those really combine? Like the events they're describing are completely different events. So it might not be able to combine. Like one says, I saw 2 simanim on this person. And the other says, on the one hand, they have the same person. So that might allow us to say that everybody would agree they would combine because they're all saying, as opposed to here, it's 2 separate $100. On the other hand, they're testifying on completely different events and maybe they have nothing to do with one another. Okay, so that's the question that's being asked here. Okay, Shema Klumu. Okay, the enko chazak v'chazaka tzricha shnei edim. Doesn't each act of chazaka need shnei edim? Okay, so the same way that's true, it's also true that each siman needs 2 edim, and you cannot combine 1 aid seeing 2 simanim one place and 1 aid seeing 2 simanim another place. Okay, tada ein shami mina edim. Now we're going to go beyond this. Ela im kain. So that was the question about can they testify and have seen the event at different times? Okay, but now we have the question of, could they have seen the event at different times? But now we have the question of, can they testify to the event at different times? Okay, so Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha says, according to Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, he says you can see at different times. Now what we want to know is, can the witnesses come to the Beis Din and testify at different times? So that's a different debate. Rabbi Nosson Omer, so we're now at the top of page 3, Shomim divrei rishon l'chayav v'sheni shomim esvarav. You can hear their testimony at different times. Rabbi Yonas, but the Chachamim disagree. Okay, so there's two debates. So here, and Rabbi, was it Yonasan? No, Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Nosson says they can testify at different times.
We don't know where Yeshua ben Karcha would say about
Right.
this.
Okay, so most of our discussion until now was within Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. We got a little complicated. Now it's going to be a little more straightforward. You can testify at different times. Now we're going to have a fun story, okay? Rabbi Yonasan Havi Yossi. Rabbi Yonasan was sitting, Makshi, and he was asking, after Ishacha Bar Nash, Dashama Halach Rabbi Nosson, has anybody heard whether we pass him like Rabbi Nosson or not, whether you can testify at different times? I'm going to Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, Rabbi Shimon ben Yakim, Rabbi Shimon ben Yakim, he knows how we paskin. Amar Yakim La'el. So Rabbi Yonasan says, and the Bavli, I think it's Rabbi Yochanan, here it's Rabbi Yonasan, similar story. He says, fine, let him come up. We're sitting on some elevated platform, that's La'el. Come sit up here and tell us how do we paskin. And now, so implicitly, that idea, Yakum, let him come up and sit with us, we're going to see from the continuation of the story, it's more explicit in the Bavli, was that they awarded him smicha. In order to allow him to sort of be a voice in this deliberation and discussion or whatever, and to come sit with them, they gave this Reb Shimon ben Yakim smicha.
It's also play at his knee.
Yakim, that's a good point. Good point. Yakum. Kiman de Salak, once he went up, Amarle, Shamis Halach Reb Nosson, have you heard whether we rule like Rabbi Nosson? Amarle, he said to him, Shamati, Modi Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha Rabbi Nosson. I heard that Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha agrees to Rabbi Nosson, which is pretty obvious. If he allows you to actually see the event itself at different times, right, then it somewhat seems to reason that you would certainly be allowed to testify to it at different times. I mean, this is the more critical thing. This is the event itself. So if you could see at different times, certainly he would agree that you could testify at different times. Of course, it doesn't tell you whether we paskin that way or not. So Amarle Ula Hadat Surcha, this I needed you for this. I gave you a special position to come here and to be with us on the Beis Din. Amarle, or some take out the Amarle. The Gemara is saying, "Iskavin Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina ela masker Reb Shimon Yakim le'el." Okay, and you know what? It's true. He knew that Rabbi Shimon ben Yakim didn't really have anything to contribute to this discussion, but he was using this as a pretext in order to get Rabbi Shimon ben Yakim to get him smicha. Okay.
But why do you need a pretext? If he's worthy, can't you just get smicha?
I don't know. Somehow, not everybody was willing to give everyone smicha. Like they had very high, they only wanted to be they wanted to be super selective. So he knew this would be an opportunity to get Rabbi Yonasan to give him smicha. Okay. Begin. Inish Rava, he was a great person, and for whatever it was, nobody was agreeing to give him smicha, so he used this as a pretext to give him smicha. Okay, we'll see a different parallel version of the story in the Bavli. Rav Chizda asked, can you accept testimony not in the presence of? We don't know the answer. Different question. Can you accept testimony not in the presence of the person they're testifying against, assuming that he was given a fair chance or showed up to Beis Din and he didn't? Would seem to be the context. You could. The Avdulay Gzardin, and you could even rule against him not in his presence. And if he eventually shows up, Iro or Kayam, then we'll reopen the case. But presumably, if he's not showing up, we're going to rule against him in absentia, okay? But we'll be prepared to revisit the case if eventually he does show up and it maybe gives us a good enough reason to revisit it. Of course, obviously, then the deck is going to be stacked against him. Once there's already a judgment, obviously, the inertia is going to be against him. Okay. Adam sheshalchu acharav beis din shalosh pamim v'lo ba. Now here. Yeah, well, that's what they do. They try to get the guy in contempt and get him to come, and if he doesn't come, then you proceed. So this didn't tell you what the threshold was to proceeding against him. Now we're going to give a little bit of an insight to that.
Who's the cause? In other words, like let's say the Aiden are being very difficult. I can only show up on this day, and say,
yeah,
everyone else.
it's a good question, right? The Yerushalmi doesn't fully explore like what are the justifying reasons, but let's take a look at the cases it deals with. 3 times they tried to get him to come and he didn't. In this case, so here it starts to sort of speak about what might be a proper circumstance to do it. So if the guy was really in contempt and he was refusing 3 times, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Omer mekablim edus below baldin va'avdin le'gzardin. That case, that 3 times he was given a chance and he didn't show up, you'll rule against him.
And would his ear still be kind though, or not?
That's a good question. I don't know. Ke'ada kahana, like a case with Rav Kahana Demach, that he died. The Shavak Yarsu, Rabbi Yoshaya, and he left an inheritance to Rabbi Yoshaya. And Rabbi Eliezer accepted witnesses not in the presence of Rabbi Yoshaya. Now, this was a case in favor of Rabbi Yoshaya. Okay, Rizaki Rabbi Yoshaya, and he awarded this case to Rabbi Yoshaya. It sounds like, so that's less of a chiddush, that when you're ruling in somebody's favor. Anyway, V'lo Odel is a Shavak Svarim. Now we're having a little digression here. That one of the things he left behind to Rabbi Yoshaya was Svarim. And because of Rebbe Lezer, Lirsu Svarim Shezachta Behen Eretz Yisrael, Rebbe Lezer, who was the one who had the case, not in the presence of Rabbi Yoshaya, who was the heir, he sent a letter to Rabbi Yoshaya, the Svarim that you were sort of like, were awarded, they have to remain in Eretz Yisrael. Because Zachsa behen Eretz Yisrael, like Eretz Yisrael was Zocha in them. Apparently, Rabbi Yoshaya lived in Chutz La'aretz. This Kahana lived in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe that's why Rabbi Yoshaya couldn't come to the case. He lived all the way in Chutz La'aretz. Okay, so they had the whole deliberations of how to distribute this guy's property. And Rav Kahana, who lived, and not Rav Kahana, Rabbi Yoshaya, who lived in Chutz La'aretz, he wasn't at the court case. They sent him a letter. Oh, so and so died. He left you some money, and we had the court case. But by the way, the Svarim he left you are staying in Eretz Yisrael. Okay. And you understand, like, it's from scrolls or whatever, they were very precious. They didn't want to lose that. Okay, so this is an interesting principle that you don't get to bring them to Chutz La'aretz. Maybe had he been there to argue his case, he could have argued how to bring them to Chutz La'aretz, but he wasn't there. Oh yeah. Oh really? They can't go out of Russia.
That's my
interesting.
The research on that.
Interesting. Rav Nisi b'shem Rebbe Lezer in kosav amnas lahotzi. If the dead person in his will wrote, "I'm giving them to Rav Ashi on the condition that he can bring them out." So in that case, motzi, and that amnas lahotzi motzi, he has the right to bring them out. Okay. Rabbi Yoshai, excuse me. Rabbi Chia bar ba bai kumi Rabbi Yossi ma'u lahotzi. So now they're supposed to ask another question. Can somebody bring sfarm outside? So Amar le leuvda motzi. So I'm not exactly sure what the word leuvda means, but I'm sorry. 1 minute. Oh no, Amalei Leuvda. Oh, if you're asking me, I'm sorry, right, this case. Can you bring this from out? Amalei Leuvda, if it's a real case, you're not just asking me theoretically, then Motzi, then you can bring them out. So Rabbi Chia bar ba by Kumi Rabbi Yossi, he asked Rabbi Yossi, Ma'ulahotzi, can you bring them out? Amalei Leuvda, is this a Lamaisa case, actually? Amalei Lo, no. So he basically said, okay, then you can't bring them out. So in theory, you can't bring them out. In practice, you can. If you're asking me theoretically, the answer is no. If you're asking me Lamasa, the answer is yes. I don't exactly get it. Anyway, Ubaysh Rabbi Zera, the Amalei Uvda. So it was bad, he was upset that he didn't say to him that it was a Lamaisa case, because as he told him that it was a Lamaisa case, I don't see where Rabbi Zera factors in here. But anyway, he would have paskined it was mutter. Okay. Begin Meida Mahu Amar. In order to know what he would have said. Meaning he said he was asking theoretically to know what he would have said, but had he actually told him that it was a practical case, he would have gotten a different ruling. Okay, that actually does happen. Somebody asked me, Shaila, so if this and this and this happened, would you say then it was mutter? So I'm saying, like, if you're asking me, the answer is no. Like, if you really have that case, and you have a real special circumstance, I'll figure out if, might be mutter in that case. But like, if you're just asking me theoretically, the answer is no. Okay, Rabbi Yirmiyah Havile Dainim Chad Barnash. Now we're going to end with a case about Mekablim Edus Shelo Bifnei Baldin. He had a court case with a certain person. The Kiblun L'Sahadaya Delo Ba'apoy, and they accepted witnesses not in the presence of Delo Ba'apoy to Rabbi Yirmiyah, not in the presence of Rabbi Yirmiyah. The Chayvun Rabbi Yirmiyah, and here Rabbi Yirmiyah was found guilty. Okay, so that's a classic Mekablim Edus Shelo Bifnei Baldin. And again, it's not clear what the circumstances were. Once before we mentioned, that 3 times he didn't come. Then there was a case about the guy being awarded something, but it was in his absence and maybe he lived far away. Here it's not clear why he didn't come. And they just went down and they had the court case, not in his presence, and they found him guilty. And he was sitting and he was in anguish. After Mekabel made him below Bifnei Baldin, how was it that they accepted witnesses not in the presence of one of the litigants? Rav Yehuna, Rabbi Pinchas, Rabbi Chizkiah, Chokek lo alin bepirka bahu yoma. Now there was a certain case that Rabbi Yehuna, did not come in, was not in the base medrash on that day, that Rabbi Yirmiyah was sort of anguishing over this case and heard this judgment against him. Dochak Rav Huna v'al, and Rav Huna forced his way into the base medrash. V'shachach Rabbi Yirmiyah mitztaer, and he saw Rabbi Yirmiyah in anguish because about this issue. And V'amar, Rabbi Yirmiyah was saying, after Mekabel Yedim below Baldin, afilu iman ba'oso ha'ir. And this is, again, what was different from the case about the Svarim. I was right there in the town. How do they have the case without me? It's one thing if you call the guy and he doesn't come, or if he's not around, he's living somewhere else. But I was right there. How were they Mekabel Medim without my presence? Amarle came. Chamus Taitin Rabbanan. Yes, I've seen that the rabbis act this way, that they sometimes will accept witnesses if the guy isn't there, even if he's right there in the town. So this is really shocking. The Bavli is much, much more reluctant to say Mekabel Medim Shelo Bifnei Baldin. The Yerushalmi does not seem like it has high standards at all, to be prepared to go ahead and to do this. Okay, so we'll end with this for today.